You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. Well, happy July 4th. Just got back. Great weekend. A little uncertain. Many of you out there unsure what's happening in the world, where things are heading. Retirement. Well, it looks like you're going to need to retire from the idea of retirement if you don't change the way you're doing things. But we've got some help on the way. Randy Sevcik, Elite Retirement Services, is with us to help you navigate the minefields. You know, I'd like to hear what's happening with your portfolio, where you are positioned as far as retirement goes. Please shoot me an email, share your experience with me. It's kl@kerrylutz.com. Randy, it's really been looking forward to having you on the show in light of the market madness that has been taking place over the past couple of months. Now, is all predictable. We know that every 7 years, the market's just going to go nuts. But nonetheless, even though we know it's going to happen, it doesn't make it any easier when it does it?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting too, because there's so many sources that are coming together right now, and it's you almost have to look into the psychology of what has brought us to this point, which is what I think makes it different in so many ways. So, you know, with, and I'm sure you've heard the stats already, with, you know, roughly 330 million citizens, we have roughly 10,000 of them retiring every day. And that's for the next 8 or 9 years. So what that means is that by the year 2030, we're going to have the confluence of two different generations coming together to bring us to the first point in our life where we're going to have over half of our population at or in retirement. Now, that's just at retirement age. We all know what's going to happen, though, is that people will be working longer just because the way that the market has worked now. You couple some of those factors with the fact that this is not going to be your typical inflationary period. It's not going to be your typical recessionary period. And I think the reason is because the psychology behind it is different. The majority of the money that's in the market is by people of age 55 plus, and that money that's in there, people are going to start to readjust as they move in their lifetimes from the accumulation stage to the distribution stage. So I think the conservative nature of investors is going to elongate the period of time for us to really come out of what's happening right now.
All right. So this changes time frames. Let me ask you a question. We're just meeting. What were you telling your clients before the latest market meltdown? What kind of advance warning were you giving them?
Well, I'll tell you, I build the way that I build people's timelines is I look at every single investment that they're going to do through the context of their individual retirement timeline. What I tell somebody at 55 is different at 62. And so as you start to approach that timeline of getting 36 months away from your retirement timeline, now we need to start becoming more conservative, which means that you're going to have to be okay with missing out on some potential growth as we start to readjust where your assets are and moving them from that accumulating phase to the point where you're going to start taking income from them. I've sort of come up with the term that I work with a lot is what we don't want to do is be taking income from a depleting asset and then reach the point what I call a terminal loss ratio, where you're never going to be able to recover in your portfolio. So splitting into buckets with some fixed income assets, such as fixed indexed annuities. I've moved some things as people get closer to that 36-month period from retirement. I move some things into that. So that way, when they get hit with a market, like a perception or a timeline like we have now, they still have their income bucket that they have that's guaranteed, but then they don't have to pull from the asset that could be depleting due to market forces.
All right. So you've seen these things come and go before. And just like when the market goes up, there's always a million reasons why this time is different, why it's going to go up forever, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Tesla or Apple or Yahoo. And then when we start seeing the market go down, that's when people really start to believe that this time is really different and you're going to get wiped out. I have fallen prey to that very same behavior, beliefs, false beliefs. How do you guide your clients through that maze of conflicting emotions and fear?
That's actually a great point. And the question you brought up there, I've heard other guests of yours talk about this too. It's the psychology of investing. And when you get into this, you have to remember we're coming off of essentially a double crisis as people are coming out of a COVID-based situation. And so at a certain point, you can only stretch a rubber band so far before it's going to snap back. And I think what's going to happen with people is you're going to have two sets of people. You're going to have people who are going to panic and they're going to jump back in and purchase things that they shouldn't when they should be really positioning themselves for maybe elongating their working life 2 more years. And so I try to get people to look at different market sectors based on what's going on with the overall picture of our economy. And, you look right now and it's the top 10 stocks that are out there. 7 are in the energy sector and 3 are in healthcare. And so, but people see that, they're going after energy. I think it was this morning that I heard that the EPA is targeting the Permian Basin now, trying to limit what they're going to do. It's like at a certain point, you can't just completely shut it down. Otherwise, you're going to have people who are going to be in a real panic and no one will spend anything.
Yeah, you're going to have a mass die-off because, like it or not, the economy runs on energy. Your very survival depends upon the delivery of affordable and accessible energy.
Right.
And we can't have it both ways here. So, getting back to what we were talking about here, it's a very difficult time, especially if you're in your 60s, you are dreaming of this retirement. God willing, you worked for the same company for 35 years and you're even going to get a gold watch.
Right.
Probably now be gold filled. And you got to be thinking to yourself, wow, what the heck am I going to do?
Don't just survive, thrive. The Financial Survival Network.
Fury Gold Mines is a Canada-focused exploration and development company committed to aggressively growing its scalable, high-grade gold assets with major drill campaigns planned across its 3.5 million ounce portfolio. Fury is led by a management team of proven explorers and developers with a track record of success in advancing and financing project development. Fury Gold Mines is well positioned to create value for investors with low-risk development growth and the potential for a new major discovery. Fury Gold Mines trades on the TSX and NYSE American under the ticker FURY. To learn more, go to furygoldmines.com. That's furygoldmines.com.
This is the Financial Survival Network. The information you need to thrive now more than ever.
Right. I try to tell people that, the best way to get through the emotional part of it is to trust math. Start doing math and creating things that make sense for you on one sheet of paper. If you can't get what you're going to do on your plan onto one sheet of paper, it's either too complicated or the truth doesn't exist. And so your plan has to really be narrowed down in that way. For instance, one of the best tools I've been using for people with math is I said, listen, as you're approaching your retirement, and if you're 70 years old and you're going to retire, start to use the rule of 100. 70% of your stuff should be geared based on your overall picture towards your income, 30% towards growth. And then your legacy is something that's left over based on how the growth bucket is doing. So a rebalancing of those assets in order to create that guaranteed situation for you have your Social Security as your base. You may have some bonds or some dividends that are paying you, that you have income that's set there. But if you need to get to a certain income level, build that base so that your income and what you have at market risk is not going to have to be providing you income to live, to cover your expenses.
Okay. So that is a reasonable thing. And look, you might be ready to retire now today, but
Right.
if you wait 2 years, that could make all the difference. And look, the market has always bounced back, not
Right.
necessarily in accordance with the timetable that you might prefer,
Right.
but it's always come back. This is nothing new here.
Right.
I've lived through it, lived through the dot bomb, never
Yeah.
thought it was coming back. Lived through '08 and '09, never
Right.
thought it was coming back. Am I going to be wrong this time to think that it will?
Right, right, and that's the thing. None of us know. And I use 2008 as an example for a lot of people because I had many clients that postponed their retirement, and I did use zero loss ratio as a key for them. I would tell them, listen, you can't be pulling from an asset that's depleting, so let's delay your timeline a little bit. And what we did see, Kerry, was most people recover around 2012, 2013, back to their 2008 levels. So it really did delay 36 months of retirement or 48 months from their original timeline, but they weren't pulling from an asset that was going down at the time, and that was the key factor. So you're right. It's based on how you see this playing out, and I do see this playing out a little bit longer. I mean, listen, Kerry, in order for us to fix a problem, we have to have the people that are in charge of fixing the problem admit that there's a problem.
Well,
and so until we do that, we can't fix it.
if I could just interject, I think that the people who are charged with fixing the problem are the problem.
Right. That's well put. I might use that later and pretend I thought of it myself, Kerry. So thank you.
And I got another one for you. Since you like my witticisms so much, Randy, this is a case where the cure is the disease.
Yes. Yes. I see things and I hear things put out there, and the comment that was made last week to the gas station owners charging appropriately to what they pay for the product. I thought, do they not know that these gas station owners essentially make their money on the $5 cup of coffee you buy? It's so out of touch that it makes me think this is going to be a longer cycle than what we would normally expect.
It's worse than out of touch. The
Right.
day that the gas station owner is the capitalist, the exploiter of capitalism,
Yes.
is the day that I open my own gas station, because these
Right.
guys, for the most part, you have two types, right? You have franchise, Exxon, BP, those are
Right.
franchise dealers. And then you have independents. Like you said, they make their money off of car washes, if they're lucky enough to have a car wash, lottery tickets,
Right.
and overpriced coffee, basically.
Right.
And this is one reason why you go to a independently owned gas station, and if they're really sharp, the bathroom is spotless, because they know
Right.
if they get you to use the bathroom there, if it's inviting, your odds of buying something triple.
Right.
That's where the margin is, and everything is jacked up. And so, but the point is, these people are really exploited by the big oil companies.
Absolutely.
They next to nothing on a gallon of gas, and then they're taking the brunt from the president and everybody else. Well, gas station economics being what they are, if that's our biggest problem, we don't have many problems.
Right.
We have a lot. So for your own personal portfolio, Randy, put yourself in the position of your clients. What are you doing for yourself?
Well, I'm in my early 50s, and so I've known that obviously without knowing the dates that there's going to be ups and downs that are within your market. So I've always been a big proponent of balancing out between protected asset growth and then growth that's at risk to market loss. And so I do things when I find indexed annuities that at times have some good rates. I'll purchase one or two at that point and try to keep my balance in line a little bit. Now, as you know, with things when the market's going great and you're getting the 10% returns like we did for a good part of the last decade, and your annuity's getting you 5 or 6 guaranteed, well, you're not feeling so great about it. But, today, knowing that we're going into what I think is probably a 2 to a 3 year cycle, I'm feeling great about having some of those annuities that are out there to provide me guaranteed income and some long-term healthcare aspects that are going to take care of costs that are unpredictable down the road.
Randy, your own personal views, your research, how long does your average recession or bear market, I should say, there is a difference between the two.
Yeah.
How long does it usually last? It's really not that long, is it?
No, it's not. And that's why this one just feels so different. The psychology of it feels so different. We've gone from a year where we had high demand and low supply because we pumped, really 25% of the money that is in currency. We've pumped that into the economy in the last year and a half. So we've gone from a year where we have had high demand and low supply, and you see it in Target and Gap and Walmart, and now they're flipping a little bit, and they're going to have high supply and low demand. So that's going to lead to some pretty substantial layoffs in order to make their profits look decent. And so I think this is a longer one. I think that, I hear stuff where people are talking about it. We won't be even talking about this by the midterm elections. And my gut tells me we'll be talking about this through the presidential primaries.
For years and years to come. Hey,
yeah.
Great points. Randy, I know people out there are going to want to connect with you, find out more about what you're doing. You're a calm voice of reason in a very tumultuous, stormy market. Where is the best place to find you? How do you connect?
Best way is an email, Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, @egrs.life. Shoot me an email with any questions, and I will get you set up with links to the website that will show you different ways to get the information you need.
Okay, and we will have a link to your website in the show notes of this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. If you got a question for Randy, you can always shoot me an email, kl@kerrylutz.com. We'll get you an answer. While you're at the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, please sign up for a free newsletter. Really important information, especially now. I want to point out that I warned all of you for the past decade that this was going to happen, that the next crisis was going to be far worse than the last, and 08 and 09 was pretty darn serious.
Yeah.
So I hate to say I told you so, but you were told, you were warned. Doesn't mean you needed to crawl under a rock, but you needed to take advantage and make preparations. Hey, Randy, been a pleasure. We'll definitely have you on again.
Great. Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.